All right, well, it looks like we are 6 after, so we'll go ahead and get this started. So thank you everyone again for joining us today. Awesome to see so many different people here from different areas around the world. Also, a great list of TV shows that everyone is watching right now. My name is Brett. I'm from the community desk, and I will be helping lead this session with our product managers here, which I'll let introduce themselves. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about our sandboxes, and we're really hoping to get you excited about some of the stuff that our product managers are working on. We want to hear the feedback from you on the demo that we're presenting. We'll have a couple of questions during the demo that I'll share as Carl's going through the demo that I just want people to view ahead of time so they can start thinking about that for when we get to the Q&A portion. And then, yeah, we'll open it up to discussion. But like I said, if anybody wants to hop on camera, we'd love to hear from you. And if you're not comfortable with that, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and share your comments in the chat. This session will be recorded as well. So if you want to go back and review the recording, go ahead and send out a post-event email summary either end of this week or early next week with recording and any other resources that we talk about during this call. And I think that pretty much covers everything on my end. So I will go ahead and hand it over to Carl, and he'll start introducing you to the team.
Great, thanks, Brett. Good to see everyone here. Thanks for coming along. As Brett mentioned, I'm Carl. I'm the product manager here at Zendesk for the Sandboxes team. We've also got here joining us Matt Barker, who's one of the engineering managers, and Oliver Reid, who's the team lead, engineering team lead. So for some of the more curly or technical questions, yeah, we've got those people on hand to help. So as Brett said, a few slides and a bit of a demo, and then we'll go into questions. So one of the things I wanted to start with is just share some of the feedback that we've had about sandboxes to date, some of the common things. We understand they've become a pretty integral part of many organizations' setup and the way they work, but they're not without their challenges and their gaps. And you know, we've kind of grouped we see these challenges really in four main categories. The first is that sandbox offering is confusing. So it's difficult to know which type of sandbox to use, for what specific use case, if it's a metadata one, a standard, or a premium, partial. And the offering, you know, really for many of our customers just doesn't make much sense. We get a lot of questions about which one they need for which purpose. Secondly, sandboxes quickly drift away from their production counterparts. Customers often test larger changes in their sandbox, but smaller, more urgent changes are made directly in their production environment, which is fine, but it just means that things quickly become impossible to accurately test the impact of changes in your sandbox when they've drifted. The third challenge we see is it's difficult, partly because of this drift, to know what the impact of any changes you make are, but also because it's not always clear what dependencies there might be between different parts of Zendesk configuration. So you might update a trigger and it needs a custom field added, for example. Things can get very complex in Zendesk, and those sort of connections, those dependencies are often buried and difficult to see. And finally, when we're actually making changes in production after you've tested them in Sandbox is really time consuming. So we've heard of some customers who have checklists of hundreds upon hundreds of items that they have to go through just to replicate a change that they've made in Sandbox that they want to move into production. And this is obviously really unsustainable. So we are happy to share today some of the things that we're working on and going to be releasing soon to help hopefully alleviate some of these concerns and these challenges. So a quick list of some of the things we've got upcoming. First up, we're going to be refreshing our pricing and packaging. So we're simplifying the offering drastically. So instead of 4 different types of sandboxes, we're just going to have one sandbox to rule them all. So going full on Lord of the Rings style here, one sandbox, you can do everything you want. You just be able to select how many tickets you want in that sandbox and then go for it. So this also simplifies how we release new functionality. So now every sandbox will have all the features you need to do your work. Don't need to pick which level and which type. The final part of this change is that we're going to be opening up sandboxes to other tiers of the Zendesk suite. Organizations on Suite Growth and Professional will soon be able to purchase sandboxes as an add-on, something they were previously not even able to do. So we're excited to see how they make use of this. And this particular change, the new packaging and pricing, is being released on the 6th of October. So very soon. I know Matt and team and others around Zendesk are working really hard to hit that date. And when it comes out, it's important for you to know that there'll be no changes to your existing environments. The only change happens when you go to create a new sandbox. So there's nothing you need to worry about on the 6th of October or do to prepare for this. The other big area that we're working on, which we're going to focus on in today's session, is what we're calling configuration or change management. So as many of you probably also know, we're running an early access program on some of these features, and these features allow you to inspect your Zendesk configurations, take snapshots of your various environments, compare those snapshots to see what's changed between them, and most importantly, to deploy changes between your environments, saving a heap of time there. So I want to walk through just conceptually first what this might look like and how this process works, and then we'll go into a live demo and show you that. So typically a Zendesk customer would have multiple environments. So their production environment is only used by agents and customers. It's very live, and ideally settings never get changed directly in this environment, although we know that's not necessarily always the case. At the other end, we have a development environment, or your sandbox. This is where all the messy changes and figuring things out happens. Then we have a testing environment. So some of our customers use this to do a QA check before making sure anything goes live. They use it for user acceptance testing. Some people have a third sandbox or a second sandbox as a training environment as well, which we can touch on later. So a very basic scenario might look like this. The development team or admins make changes, testing and exploration in an isolated development environment. So this keeps any impacts away from agents who are supporting your actual customers so they can continue to work smoothly. When you're ready, you would first make sure your testing environment matches what you have in production. So you do this by deploying a snapshot of your production instances to your testing instance to update that and make sure it's in sync with production. Now that your test environment looks just like the real thing, you can test the deployment of your recent changes from development to testing. And when deploying, you can select specifically which features you want to deploy. So you can select a specific trigger, a custom form or field, or custom statuses, amongst others, and I'll show you how that works in a moment. This whole process, we've tried to make it as safe as possible. So if things break along the way, you haven't impacted any of your actual agents or customers. So up until now, you're just practicing the rollout or the deployment of your changes. And we see that with customers, this process can go back and forth a few times to make sure everything's perfectly right, and you've deployed all the right things, and that people are comfortable with the changes that are coming up. Now that you're confident, you can safely push the new changes into your production environment and make everything live. So if for some reason you need to roll back, you can easily revert the deployment and bring production back to its previous snapshot. So I mentioned this word snapshot a few times already, and it's one of the key concepts in the way we're thinking about this whole system and this whole feature set. A snapshot essentially holds a copy of the configuration or the settings for a particular environment at a particular point in time. So you can have snapshots of any environment for any time. You may want to, for example, take a snapshot each week or each month of your production environment. That way, if anyone does change something in there and breaks it, you can deploy an earlier things back into order. You may want to have a particular snapshot for a training scenario so that you can spin it up in a sandbox when you train new agents or bring on a new team. So we see a number of reasons and values why these snapshots could be used, and we're excited to see how people actually make use of them as we roll this out. Just a note about the snapshots. Currently, they only contain configurations or settings. So they don't contain actual data, so no actual tickets or custom object records, but that's something we're going to be exploring for 2026 next year and seeing how we can evolve this concept. As Brett said, if you have any questions about this, feel free to pop them into the chat. But what we'll do now, we'll jump a live demo, and it is a live demo, and that's scary. So we'll see how this all goes. So in this scenario, and just to keep it simple, we've got a production and a development environment. So I've already made some changes in my development environment. I've added a new form called priority form for like priority customers with some new fields and a trigger associated with it as well that routes things and updates fields in the ticket when they use that form. So first, what we want to do is take that snapshot of our development environment. So I'm in my production here, and I can see I've got my dev space, which is my snapshot, and I'm going to call this Product Insights Exchange Snapshot. So what this is doing at the moment is taking a look at our sandbox environment and taking a snapshot of all the settings, all the configurations, triggers, fields, custom objects, automations, all those sorts of things. And it just takes a moment. Obviously, larger environments will take a little bit longer, but we're trying to keep this down to about a minute or so. So you can see here, if we find our ticket form, you can see we've got the default ticket form and a priority form, which is a new one that we've added. Don't be put off by this text and code thing. We've had a number of admins look at this, but we found that once they spent just a couple of minutes with it, it starts to make sense. And hopefully this will make more sense when we go into the deployment and compare. So if we want, we can actually compare this snapshot with one we take of our production environment to actually see what's different. In this case, however, we're going to skip that step and go directly to the deployment screen where we can also do a compare and check. So when deploying, you select the snapshot that you want to work with. Do a Pi deployment, and this is the snapshot that we just took. So this is our development environment that we've got all our new form and changes in, and we want to deploy this to production. So we create that, and what this is doing at the moment is taking a backup of production, and it's going to start comparing what's different between these two environments. So we see here the list is a lot smaller, and you can start to be selective about what you want to update. So we see this as a ticket form. We see that it's new, so it's all green. All these things will be added. So really all this shows is that that's the name of the form. These are the fields that are used, and it's active. It's available for all brands. We can have a look at a trigger, and you can see that we've got this new demo trigger here that I created, and a similar sort of thing. It's got the names, the actions that it does. It sets this particular field to true, and it sets the priority to high, and these are the conditions. And we do all the conditions through this. We'd love to get your feedback as you're using this, how you find this particular display. We're thinking of ways that we can help make this a little bit more user-friendly for you. So what I'm going to do here is intentionally make a little bit of a mistake to see what happens. I want to deploy this ticket form. I can test my deployment, and immediately it tells me, hang on, this ticket form is actually related to this priority field. There's another field that you need to add if you want to deploy this safely. You can choose to ignore this, and you might ask, why would you ignore this? Say one of the dependencies is a webhook. You may not want to override that webhook in your production environment because you're using different URLs or slightly different settings in each area. So we've made this as open as possible for you for those more complex scenarios, but also to make it as simple as possible so that you don't make mistakes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to also add that ticket field. I'm not going to update these other ones. We're just going to do this priority one that's been changed. Let's go with that. Okay, that looks like that's running nicely now. So this is now running what's called a test deployment. It's not actually making any changes in your live production environment. It's just mocking that out and just testing that it's all going to work smoothly. And we see that this time the test has passed, which is great for a live demo. So I can now hit the deploy button. Deployment actually makes the change live in your environment. So this is making the actual change in my production environment. As it's doing this, this only takes a few moments. I'll let you know that all these actions are actually recorded in the audit logs. We know changes are very important for customers to track and to go back on and to check who did what. So at any time, you can go back into your normal standard audit log and see what's happened there. The individual configurations that are changed, say like the trigger and the form and those things, they all have their normal standard logging procedures. So all those changes appear in the audit log records as well. So that we've got pretty good coverage over all of that. So we see that deployment's successful. We can now jump into our production environment and have a look and see that this has all worked nicely. So we have our form here. We can see we've got our new priority form. We've got our priority field that came along with it. Let's see if we've got our new trigger as well. So there we go. We've got our new trigger, and that's been properly brought over. So previously, customers would have to do all these things manually. This system actually does it all for you, selects the dependencies, and does it in the correct order as well. Sometimes you need to have field and things done before you can do the triggers and all those complex sort of things. So hopefully we've taken away a lot of that manual work and that stress. A few caveats before we wrap up this particular demo. Currently, we support most of the general support product features, so things like triggers and forms, automations, custom fields, etc. Over time, we'll be progressively expanding the coverage to other areas of Zendesk. And we'd love to hear what sort of areas you're particularly interested in, what bug you about having to make those changes, and if we could automate that particular change, that would be great. So we'd love to hear from you about what we should be prioritizing. And just to finish up here as well, we have a number of other features still to deliver as part of this early access program to round out the experience. And they'll be coming, over the next few weeks. And we're aiming to go live with this whole feature set towards the end of November. So it's coming up pretty soon, and we're excited to see people jump onto it. For now, however, I'll leave the demo. I'll pass back to Brett, and we can open up for some questions.
All right. Thank you, Carl, for that awesome presentation and demo. Great. It looks like Cart actually has his hand raised already, so I will go ahead and hand it over to you.
Hi, I'm talking from New Zealand. I got into the early access program. This is really good because, I was wondering why Zendesk doesn't have this feature of, having similar sandboxes and not the availability to purchase like anything if you need like additional. Because ideally, I would want something. We're just doing development in partial sandbox and then manually pushing those things. Like we don't have a separate testing environment for us to do the testing and stuff. So this is actually good. Like I was perplexed why Zendesk after so long they didn't have this feature available. So yeah, this is really good. Looking forward to that. And I played a little bit with the EAP, but I didn't have full time to test it. But yeah. Do you know like when I didn't hear the part like when will this be available? I know the other the purchase options are available in October, but
Yes, yeah. So thanks for that, Cut. Yes, the new sandbox types, or the simplified offering, will be available on the 6th of October, and these more management features, environment management features, are available live towards the end of November this year.
thanks. Yeah, I'll play it in the meantime, and yeah, if I have any more feedback,
excellent. And feel free to.
Yeah, I have your email, so I'll send it to you.
Great. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, feel free to do that. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you, Cart. James, you had a question. Oh, are you there, James? I don't think we can hear you. might be a microphone issue, but if you are running into issues, feel free to type it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay, thanks.
Yep.
I think you insinuated this earlier, Carl, but I was just wondering. It sounds like this feature is for more of the cores and the support features. So, like for example, it's not going to move configuration for like actions and AI agent bots and whatnot from one. Well, it'd actually be a different instance, anyways. It's outside of the core instance, so that makes sense. Then, thanks for confirming. And then you were also mentioning, hey, sometimes URLs update for webhooks and whatnot. Same thing with configuration. If you're adding new fields, then you'll have different IDs in your sandbox versus your production. So it'll understand based off of like the naming convention, I guess, and when it creates it, to hold those new IDs with the new configuration, since it won't be the same IDs as Sandbox. Is that how it works?
Yeah, thanks for the question, James. So for that first part, so things like AI agents, flows, those sorts of things aren't covered at the moment, but it's something we're looking very heavily into early next year. So as you know, the ultimate product was brought in. It sort of sits a little bit outside of the core Zendesk functionality. But as they bring in that closer, we'll be able to cover that off with these features as well. So that will be coming. It's one we think we have a lot of use for, and a lot of people will be interested in using. So yeah, not yet, but hopefully soon. So on the second question, and I can get Oliver to jump in and add to this as well, but we do our compares based on the name of the field. So if you add a new field, in Sandbox, the ID might be different, but we'll keep the names the same. So we track those sort of changes between the two environments. So when you do make changes, sometimes a field in Sandbox will come up as if it's a new field because you've changed the name, but that's just because the name has changed. All the rest of it might be the same. So there are a few little caveats there, a few little edge cases. The other thing that we're thinking of with regards to, you mentioned the webhook URLs and those sorts of things, we have this idea that we're playing with at the moment where we're thinking that customers would like to set up some sort of variables so they can say, hey, in this environment, I want this triggers URL or this webhook's URL to be this, and in this other environment, I want to point to this other place. So essentially, we can push those particular changes to each environment depending on what the environment is. So that's something we're just starting to think about, and we'll do a little bit more work on coming up next year. But Oliver, I don't know if you yeah, exactly, James. Yeah, like APIs, we have different testing APIs versus your production APIs. So you don't want to be overriding those. So we can either essentially ignore that particular piece when you're doing a deployment or a compare, or actually push a specific value in each. Oliver, I don't know if you wanted to mention anything about the IDs and how that side of things work.
I think you've basically nailed it. The only thing I would add is basically for those types of things, we always show you in the comparison view the things that we are planning to change. So you always get a chance to make sure that it's the sort of change that you expect. So if something doesn't line up because the names are different, then you'll see that in the comparison. And then you can either choose to go change the names in the source environment or the destination environment, or you can just ignore that change. So we try to give as much flexibility there while still letting you kind of match those things up as possible.
Great. Thanks, Oliver.
All right. I think I saw Riken's hand up. And I hope I said
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, the answer you gave to James sort of covered my question as well. So I was around triggers. So some of our departments use email channel heavily. So that triggers configure emails and go based off of the emails that tickets are received on. But I think this variable feature might cover that part because Sandbox uses different emails, variations of those emails. It can't use the live ones. So I guess the ability to have variables and then configure different emails for different environments would probably cover that aspect. But if correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that this would be in the next phases of this feature. So probably next year sometime. It won't be coming in with the November release yet.
Yeah, that's correct. Thanks for that. And I appreciate that, hearing these specific sort of use cases is really helpful for us to make sense of the feature as well and how people might use it. And I think the email one there is a really good example. You're sharing that. And yes, that won't be, these variables environment type approaches won't be available in release at the end of November, but it is something we're going to be looking at, and it'll fall somewhere in our roadmap for prioritization.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks.
Daniel, you had a question.
Good morning, thank you. Just playing with the early access program model, I notice when I have a configuration item like a form deleted on my source when I'm doing a deployment, it gives me the option of deploying the deleted form. I find that an interesting thing to be doing. Can I share screens on this quickly to quick show?
Brett, I'm not sure if we can.
I would say we should bring that outside of this call.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I can answer that more generally. I think, and it might be the way we're sort of labeling things. When you see something, say you've deleted a form in your sandbox and you go to do a deployment and it shows that, hey, this form is deleted. Why would I want to, deploy a deleted form into production? What that's actually showing you is that form has been deleted, and when you deploy, it will delete that form in production for you as well to keep them both in sync. So there might be something that we need to think about how we name or how we might display that to make that a little bit clearer.
Thank you. Thought that was a bit interesting.
Yeah, it is. I appreciate that feedback. It's quite useful. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. Atul, you had a question.
Hi, this is Atul. Thank you for rolling out this EAP. This was much awaited, feature. So a couple of questions. Sorry, I joined late, so I might have missed it. Are we also covering articles and forms in this process? And the second is, if we copy from production to our sandbox, will it override any existing configuration, or will it just keep the existing configuration and add more on top of it?
Yeah, good question. So the first one, we don't currently cover guide, so knowledge base and help center. That is something that's come up particularly for customers who use a lot of the generative AI features. So that's something we do have on our roadmap for next year, but we're not covering it at the moment. And your second question was about overriding stuff if you go from production to sandbox. So if you do a deployment in that direction, it's exactly the same as the process the other way. You can select which particular things you want to bring over. So say you want to update, make sure your sandbox is up to date with the triggers and forms and things that you've got in production. You can do that. And if it's going to replace something, it will let you know that it's modified, or if it's going to delete something or add something new, it will let you know. So you have control over whether you want that particular trigger or feature to be overridden in your sandbox. Another thing just to make clear here as well is that we're only dealing with the settings of things. So we're not actually moving data. So things like tickets, custom object records, organizations, user records, those sorts of things aren't part of this. We've got another project that we're looking at next year as well about how we can easily get you to bring fresh data into your sandbox. And we've got a couple of questions there that Brett had posted earlier that we'd love to hear your feedback on. So yeah, hopefully that helps Atul answer your question.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Just a follow-up, if you may have.
Yeah.
So will this be a part of the base feature of product, or will this be an add-on to the existing product?
Yeah, great question, and yeah, I appreciate you asking that. This all comes with a sandbox, so as you'll all customers from Suite Growth and above will have access to inspect, take snapshots, and compare snapshots. That just comes with your standard Suite Zendesk product. The deploy feature comes when you have a sandbox. So if you're on an enterprise plan and you get sandboxes bundled, you'll get all the deployment features. All of that just comes free with your sandbox. If you purchase additional sandboxes, it comes bundled in with those. So there's no extra cost for these, deployment snapshot type features there. Yeah, we want people to actually use this. So we've just bundled them all in.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Carl.
Great, pleasure. Thank you.
These are great questions. Keep them coming. Riken, you had another question?
Yep. Thanks, Brett. Yep. So just wanted to bring up, so you've mentioned bringing over live ticket data to sandbox environments. I think what might be helpful for us, and specifically because we've got multiple departments working on Zendesk, would be the ability to choose to bring over tickets for all those departments, because right now it's just random. Random tickets will be brought in from production, and some of our departments may be missed in that process. So maybe giving some sort of criteria to Zendesk case, let's say bring over this amount of ticket from this department and from this department as well, just so that we can test across all those departments and not have to create tickets manually.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think, currently there's two things that I know our customers face. Firstly, like you were saying, we bring over a random selection of recent tickets, and that only happens when you create a sandbox after you've created it. So you're spinning up a new department or a new area, you have to recreate a new sandbox to bring over new stuff. So it's one of the things I'd really like us to get better at, and I think you're right on the money there. So we'd like to offer people like yourself more control over what you bring over and when you bring it over as well. So you don't have to delete your sandbox and create it fresh just to bring over new data. So that's definitely something that I'd like us to be looking at, and something we've got on the agenda for next year. I'd be keen, even if you wanted to. You've mentioned filtering by department or org. I'd be keen if you and others feel free to email me or even pop in the chat what other sorts of filters would be useful for you, for what sort of data you might want to bring over.
Yep, will do if I have some ideas. Yep.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Carl.
Kathleen.
Hello. So I'm the Zendesk admin with our Together Work brand, and we have multi brands, a lot of brands in our instance. And one of the things is right now we're moving everyone from chat to messaging, and so we're using the Sandbox for that as testing and training. The big thing is, like with the intents and answers, it would be great if we could move that over, because it can be, I'm manually pushing from the Sandbox to messaging, and then testing it out to make sure, because the 30 plus brands we have in ours, if they've updated a trigger, we're not sure, because it's been there for 6 months. So if I've updated the Sandbox, if I haven't updated the Sandbox, because I don't want to lose that information, when I push it to the live instance, I see, I go in and test to make sure everything is routing and the trigger's not misfiring. So, but the intents and answers, because it can be really long, and just trying to get everything, it would just be so much easier to have the ability to push intents and answers, because right now we're having our product lines build them for themselves because they know it better.
Yeah, it's that's definitely a tricky one, and I can understand how frustrating that would be to have to redo that sort of stuff manually and keep track of that. Intents and answers, again, it is going to be a common answer for some of these today. It is on our agenda. It won't be there for GA. We've got a bit of work to do around that area, but a lot of those sort of AI and generative features, generative AI-based features, will be coming after we go live in November. I can't say exactly when yet, but I'd love if you wanted to send me through an email, Kathleen, and I'd be happy to go through in some detail and learn a bit more specifically around some of the challenges you're having there. That would be really helpful for us.
Well, luckily, I like workflows, so it's a pretty thing when you're building it. So I don't mind as much, but some of them can take a long time.
Yes.
But yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I think one of the other things we're excited about is the Action Builder platform that's coming out from one of my colleagues' teams, and we're looking to integrate with that as well. So at some point in the future, you'll be able to use that to construct workflows to actually do snapshots and deployments and all manner of crazy, wonderful things. So if you're into workflows, I'd encourage you to have a look at the Action Builder. It's under EAP at the moment. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I'll send you some links around that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, if you had a chance to think about some of the questions that we shared in the chat and you want to share your answers now would be a great time for that. I'll give everyone a minute or two just to think about that. And I guess Carl, Matt, Oliver, while we're giving some people time to think about that, did you want to share what sort of feedback that you've heard throughout this EAP that you're aware of already?
Yeah, I'd love to. I think it's very similar to what many of you here have already said. The biggest piece of feedback I get is, why haven't we had this before? So that's actually kind of, sad that we haven't had it earlier, but also really exciting that we're finally getting to it. So I'm really excited to see how people make use of this. We know our Zendesk customers do all sorts of wild and wonderful things with our product. So I'm excited to see how they twist and pull this and that gives us a lot of new ideas and things that we can work on to help make things easier. Certainly, some of the feedback we're getting is that sometimes the process of taking a snapshot or doing a compare takes a little bit long, and we're working on speeding that up. So that will be improved before we go live. Other than that, it's really people I've spoken to are just happy that they don't have to keep manual track of all their changes in a big list. We've got one customer who they do big releases, every few months when they onboard a new product or a new team. They have a whole set of changes that come along with that. And they really keep spreadsheets of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rows of individual config items that they need to change and update. So this is really helping them do away with that and to feel safe about that as well. Yeah, thanks for that, Daniel, the comment there. Yeah, I think the variables and configuration attributes are looking to be quite a useful thing for add. I think Kathleen mentioned brands, and I might make a point about that as well. At Zendesk, your brand has to be globally unique. So if you have a brand, Carl, in your live production instance, you can't have Carl in your sandbox. It has to be Carl123 or Carl Sandbox or something unique, and actually synchronizing those and making sure that your triggers that work in Sandbox then are updated with the correct live brand in your production environment or vice versa is quite problematic. So I think the variables, environment variables type idea actually could work there quite nicely.
Yeah.
Synchronizing data. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Uses synthetic data. Yep. It's something we've been playing.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and the comments just for the recording. So if anybody that's watching the recording won't be able to see the chat. So addressing Daniel's comment before, he said, this is a great feature. Looking forward to actually managing change. Look forward to introduction of variables for configuration, attributes, and tools for data migration selection. And then Cart says synchronizing data, partially at least, is important for testing. Users' data, definitely synthetic data for PII, but some other data would be good to have live.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. That's yeah, useful feedback and helpful for us to know.
And I know that Carl touched upon Action Builder. We did recently have a Product Insights Exchange on Action Builder about a month ago. So we do have a recording of that available for everyone that I just linked in chat. If you want to get a better understanding of what they're working on. It goes over a little bit of the EAP that Carl mentioned. So I definitely recommend taking a look if you are interested. We have about 14 minutes left. So does anybody else have any other questions or feedback that they'd like to share live? All right, I'll do another plug here. We do have another Product Insights Exchange coming up on September 24th. This one is going to be focused on Agent Home. And here is a link that I'll include in the chat. If you are interested, you can definitely register now. Seats will be limited, so I recommend registering as early as possible if you're interested in attending live. And yeah, I would say if no one else has any others or feedback that they'd like to share, I want to thank you to all of our hosts who were able to kind of jump in here, answer any questions. You know, thank you, Carl, for being able to demo all of this to our customers. I know they are extremely appreciative of all this. And thank you to everyone that was able to join today who shared their feedback, questions, things like that. It definitely helps us to get a better understanding of the pain points that you're running into. So that way we can make sure that we're building a product just for you. So link to the Agent Homes event coming up now. Carl, is there anything else that you wanted to sign off with?
Not at the moment. I would say if you're not on the EAP yet, please do sign up. And always, myself and the team are always more than happy to meet with you and jump on a chat with you if you wanted to go through something specific, or you know, just email me. I've popped my email in the chat, but it's carl.joseph@zendesk.com. Yeah, very happy to receive emails and feedback and your thoughts and ideas, and to help you through stuff as well if you need to as well. So feel free to reach out at any time.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Again, we will go ahead and share out the recording and a post-event summary, like I said, a couple of days after the event. So it could be out either by Friday or potentially early next week. But if you did register for the event, you'll get that email notification along with any of the resources, a link to the EAP, and the recording if you're interested in rewatching or sharing with your team. All right. Well, I hope all of you have a good rest of your day, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.